proclamation with us. Everybody do it. Let's go. We're gonna turn the world upside down. We're gonna turn these people right side up. We're gonna shout until we're 6 feet over. We're gonna demonstrate something unusual. Come on. Something.
Partnerships are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now,
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you. And then by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.
Shall become a trumpet, says the Lord.
Be a praying president, not a religious one, for I will fool the people, says the Lord. God says, I will put at your helm for 2 terms a president that will pray, but he will not be a praying president when he starts. I will put him in office, and then I will baptize him with the Holy Spirit and my power, says the Lord.
Spirit of the Lord says there shall be one assassination attempt that shall endeavor to destroy the plans that I have for this nation. Look to your vice president.
But California, I am looking at you. Goldstone, California. God says, once you recognize the man that I have raised up, pray, for the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. Hear me. I have found a man after my own heart, and he is amongst you. He is one of the brothers but singled out for presidency of the United States of America. Strange July, hypnotic November, and oh Christmas, where winter shall say, and me, I will make them happy. My will shall be done. And in the fall, will show you whom I have chosen to pray for and guide this nation. You shall rejoice, for it is my man. It is my chosen David, says the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord.
Hello, friends. I'm Donna Clement Petrushka, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive. Every prophetic moment, every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Code Breakers Live. I barely made it in here today. It is raining, and I am, oh my goodness, so much to share with you today. I've got USAID, USAID. I don't even know what to call it, but let me tell you something. Talk about corruption being exposed. And this is what my dad prophesied, you guys. And so I have lots of prophecies to show you today. We're going to go through my X page and look just this past week. I mean, every week, every week, I can't even keep up with this. I understand now why my dad saw everything that he saw. And it's starting to connect in ways that it didn't make sense before. Like, we could see this piece, we could see this piece, we could see this piece. Impeachments over here, Ukraine's over here, corruption being exposed is over here, Trump's over here. Now it's all starting to come together. And a huge part of this has been what has been revealed through USAID, USAID, whatever we call it. I'm going to go into the chat and say hello to everybody. I see you guys in Rumble there. Somebody did a super chat. Thank you for that. It's gone away. Let me scroll. There. Summertime 71. Thank you so much. In Massachusetts. How's the weather? Is it raining? I mean, is it snowing? Is the new Snowden? I don't think so. I think the new Snowden, well, maybe it is Musk. I've always thought that the new Snowden was Julian Assange, just because that all happened around the time Trump was running for president and everything. And because of Julian Assange, we knew a lot of the stuff that happened with Hillary Clinton and what was in those emails. And it started to make us look at what our government was doing, not in the same way as Snowden. Snow. Oh, I see. Summertime. You got a storm. Now, I've been watching the weather. I'm sorry to divert, but I've been watching the weather because I've been looking to see if we were going to get more snow here in Tennessee before the end of winter, because we did get some snow and that was great. And then this last week, the weather's actually been beautiful. But I'm hoping for a little more snow before the end of winter. So I've been watching the weather, and I saw summertime 71. I saw that you guys were going to be getting quite a bit of snow and some storms going through there. I think there's more coming this week for you. So watch your weather because it's supposed to be quite a bit of snow. But I'm in Tennessee, so we're right underneath, and it's just the snow's just right above us in all the states, and we're just hoping we get a little bit more. Let's have a look at YouTube. Elizabethtown, North Carolina, Soap Lake, Washington, Kingsport, Tennessee. Let me scroll here. Washington, Indiana, sunny Palm Harbor, Florida. Hello. Thank you for joining us today on this Super Bowl Sunday. Thanks for being here. I know the Super Bowl is like at 5 my time, Central. So that would be 6 if you're on the East Coast and maybe 3 or 4 on the West Coast. So we will not go as long. Michelle says that your daughter it went away. Your daughter is in Pigeon Forge, where I'm going to be going there at the end of the month. I'm speaking at it's a church retreat for the pastors, the Bilbos, from Louisiana, and they were dear friends of my dad. Awesome people, just amazing people. And I'm going to go and hang out with them in Pigeon Forge. They do a church retreat event up in the Smokies every year, and I couldn't go last year. Will cartel attack border civilians? I hope not. I'm a little worried about the cartels because they're getting shut down, which I'm very happy about, but they're not going to be happy about it, you guys. They're not. Blessings from Oregon, Hill, Florida. I've never seen that town before. Ohio, Norway. Hello from Norway. Norway is so beautiful. I was watching a thing on Norway the other day, and it was just stunning. Just a beautiful place. Lansing, North Carolina, West Monroe, LA, Louisiana, New Hampshire, Aloha, Hawaii, Kentucky. Oh, it's so lovely to see you guys. Augusta, Georgia, over there in Rumble. A lot of Georgia in Rumble. Pennsylvania. Hopefully the last snow. I know a lot of people are feeling like, hopefully. Blessings from New Orleans. Stanley. I love New Orleans. It's one of my favorite places. Cape Coral, Florida. Except for the humidity, I can't take it. I couldn't live there. I couldn't live in Florida because my hair would look like this all the time. My hair looks like this today because it's raining. And my sister does my hair. She's a hairdresser. She usually will do my hair for me. And I said to her, Jacqueline, this rain, we're going to be wasting our time. We either braid it or we just let it be. So we let it be. 28 degrees in Michigan. Now we're going to get some of the same temperatures coming this week. So that's why I'm hoping it does actually snow. Missouri, Florida too. Augusta, Georgia. Beautiful God-filled day. Yes. It doesn't look frizzy because I sprayed summertime. It doesn't look frizzy because I sprayed it with leave-in conditioner. So hopefully, possibly by the end of this show, it'll be like out here. Okay, and then in our House of Destiny chat, Janelle Speaks is hello. Janelle Speaks, hello there. And Glenn, Tyler Sims, hello everybody, welcome. Janelle says hello to everybody, all code breakers. Okay, well, let's get into it because I've got a lot today. Buffalo, New York, Alabama. Oh, I just love you guys. Thank you so much for coming every week. Every time I see St. Jude commercials for kids with cancer, I pray the cure comes quickly. Me too. And this is part of what my dad prophesied, you guys. We have to just really stand on this word and this promise because what a difference it will make in the world. And I really, years ago, I worked in my dad's office. I was in my teens. I was a teenager, older teenager, and I was working in Dad's office, and I used to answer the phones. And people didn't know I was his daughter. I wouldn't tell anybody. I would just answer. Prophetic Image Expressions, can I help you? And it's been so long since, because the ministry used to be called Prophetic Image Expressions in the 2000s, early 2000s, and then they changed the name when they moved to California. And so it used to be Prophetic Image Expressions. And a lady called in one day and talked to me for a while. And she was talking to me about the cure for cancer. This must have been, maybe it was 2002. Maybe it was 2002, 98, 98. Anyway, around then. And she called in the office and talked to me for a long time. And she was telling me about that they had a cure for cancer and that they were suppressing it because of how much money they were making off of the supposed treatments. Mom of autism and grandchild with autism. Hello, Florida Beach mom. I'm actually going to be talking about that today because I'm also a mom of an autistic child who is just a delight. He's too funny. He had me dressing up. He put a knight's helmet on me as a toy costume that I had gotten him. And he put the helmet on me and he'd attached a big red feather to the back of it. It was so cute. And he made me wear it. And I had to be the knight. I was doing that just a couple hours ago before I came over here. So let's start. I had to make a list because there was so much. I mean, look at this. And this isn't even the only page. I've got a second page too. So I wonder if we should just start on my X page. I think I am going to do that. Lou, let's start on my X page. We'll go back to Bongino. I'm going to play you guys a section of Dan Bongino's show from Friday, simply because I could have done a whole lot of work trying to cut that stuff and edit it, and he did it all. So I'm going to play you guys a Dan Bongino clip, and we're going to go through it because he really lays it out, and the way he lays it out has a lot to do with what is it? Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just seen that it's selected.
Okay. So we will get to Bongino. I want you to hear, because the way he lays it out, you can really see with my dad's prophecies as he's telling the story. You can just plonk prophecies in along his little timeline there. So very interesting. So let's go through this. Let me pull it up on mine so I can actually see it in front of me. There we go. So I'm going to scroll down all the way. This is all week long. What a week of stuff. So much that has happened. So we're going to go through as much as we can. I don't know if you guys saw the Japanese, is it a president or prime minister? And he was saying how he was a bit starstruck over meeting Trump. And Trump's reaction was so cool. But I'm going to scroll all the way down to where we left off last week, because it has been shocking, the things that we are learning. So we're almost there. Okay, so we're going to go. There we go. We'll start here with this frog. This is a Malayan leaf frog, and I know it has nothing to do with prophecy or anything, but I've never seen anything like it. I'm quite a fan of frogs. I had my own frog. It was actually, I bought it for my son, and I bonded with this little frog. I loved it so much. And then it died. And I think it's something I did. And because I have no idea how to take care of frogs. And I think I used the wrong water and it died in my hand. It was just the saddest thing. Anyway, I've never seen a frog like this. It's a leaf frog. Look how cute he is. Looks like he's got long eyelashes. Adorable. So we'll start there. Okay, here we go. So Fauci and USAID and NIAID, which I don't know what that is, sent over $40 million in our taxpayer support to a scientist in Wuhan who was working on bat coronavirus emergence research. This person also became patient zero for COVID-19, and we're going to learn more about that in a little while. But here's paperwork on that. You see the amounts here. I don't know if you can see how big it is on the screen. Look at these. Look at this. All this money. Taxpayer money. Our money. And then if we want to ask what's happening to this money, nobody can pass an audit. Nobody wants to cooperate. You see people like Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer, just the same old people again, screaming and shouting like it's the end of the world, trying to come up with whatever they can to criticize Elon Musk and what he's doing with USAID and the audit. Let me tell you, I have my reservations about Musk, but those are more on a spiritual level. As far as him doing this, I am all for it. I do trust him to do this right. And so does President Trump. And I don't think President Trump would blindly trust him if he didn't think he could. And if you saw what he did on this very platform X, many of you experienced the censorship. And, with me, I didn't even use it. And when it was Twitter, as far as posting anything, I would just read stuff on there, but I couldn't be myself. And as soon as Elon Musk took it over and it just took all that censorship away, that's when the truth started to come out. So we need to give credit where credit is due. Here is Reddit openly discussing how to avoid being caught leaking. And it says, we received word that Elon Musk staffers are using space characters to identify information leakers. And then it tells them how to avoid doing that. So they're actively covering up. And you'd think these people who also pay taxes would be saying, maybe I don't want to be involved in this. But they must be receiving some kind of money. And this is what we're beginning to learn. Who is receiving money? Well, I bet you anybody screaming and shouting, just the way we saw Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders screaming and yelling at RFK Jr. in the Senate confirmation hearings, just the way we saw them behaving, it came out that they are receiving the highest amount of money from Big Pharma. And so, of course, they're the ones shouting the loudest. They get a big paycheck, millions of dollars. And they were just making fools of themselves. Well, the same thing has happened this week. The same people screaming and shouting. You saw them outside. I don't know if you guys saw outside of the Department of Education. I don't think I have it here. But outside of the Department of Education, like yesterday or the day before, they were being locked out because Trump wants that audited. He said the lady he's put in charge of it, he wants her to put herself out of a job. We saw how, Maxine Waters was screaming at him, show us your ID, da, 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 da. And it's like, why are you so mad, Maxine? Aren't you concerned also? And the thing is, it's not like they had a person that they were saying, we want this person to go in and audit the government. They weren't doing that. As soon as a government audit happened, the person doing it becomes enemy number one, public enemy number one. And then they start screaming and yelling and making stuff up. Who cares? I know Pocahontas needs to leave. These people are done. They've had their time. Mitch McConnell as well. Lindsey Graham. I can't stand. I don't trust Lindsey Graham. Of course, you guys. I don't know if you saw. And there's something popped up. I'm trying to see what the noise was I just heard. Okay. So we saw the reactions also. Trump threatened Canada and Mexico with sanctions, or is it sanctions or whatever he did, and tariffs. Thank you. And as soon as he did that, for all their screaming and shouting over there, Mexico and Canada, they relented immediately as soon as they had a conversation with Trump. And so that has been very encouraging. Okay, here we go. Let's have a listen to what my dad had to say here. And I'm going to rewind it, make it big. Okay, so my dad saw, and this was on Prophetic Rewind last Monday. So if you haven't seen this, I encourage you, go over to the House of Destiny, look for Prophetic Rewind, and watch last week's because it's really good. But here's a clip from it. Make it big.
We want to perform another 9/11. But we always think of 9/11 as being big towers coming down. But it was an act of terrorism against Americans. What offends the Muslim? What offends the radical Muslim? Tell me what offends them. I'll tell you what offends them, that you're alive. That's what offends them. They don't want you alive. They don't want America prosperous. They don't want America existing. They don't want America sending the gospel throughout the earth. They don't want, and yet we have people inside screaming the same thing against the United States of America.
There you go. Now he really was quite adamant about that there would never be a 9/11 event the way it happened, but that there would be this other attack. So we wouldn't see huge skyscrapers coming down because planes are crashing into them, but there would be another kind of attack. And this attack has come from inside. And it is a new kind of war. If you remember February 22nd of 2014, I'm going to pull that up. He said there's a nation itching, this is when he prophesied, for a new kind of war with America. And so this new kind of war that we have all experienced has been an attack on the American people. Why? Because America is of the people, for the people, by the people. That whole thing. That is what America is. So we don't have a king. We have a president who's temporary, that rotates. And so, and I see someone saying something about the plane crashes. You know, I did really cover that because Dad talked a lot about the plane crashes and something nefarious being behind it. I'm not sure if these particular plane crashes were that, but we did cover this last week because it really was. I don't even know. So, worth looking at. But I cannot say definitively that these particular plane crashes were done by terrorists or that ISIS was involved, nothing like that. And that's kind of what my dad was seeing in the prophecies that, for instance, they have trained pilots and will train pilots to plunge, to attack, to steal. However, there's still a lot of questions there. So I don't want to definitively say, because I don't want to mislead anybody, even if it's inadvertently or you know. So here we go. Canada announces $1.3 billion border plan to stop the flow of fentanyl. Before that, Trudeau was screaming and shouting and threatening. And as soon as he got on the phone with Trump, story changed. Same thing happened in Mexico. So we can see Trump is getting the job done, as only Trump could do, and we do love it. Here we go. Here's a little recap.
We are 2 weeks in, and President Trump is...
I'm going to make this big. And she's just recapping what's happened so far. And I just thought this was so cool. So let's have a look. I'll rewind it.
We are 2 weeks in, and President Trump is already delivering big wins for the American people. Let's go through the facts. On the border, President Trump declared a national emergency, deployed the military, ended catch and release, and reinstated Remain in Mexico. And already, illegal crossings are down 95%. We are resuming construction of the border wall, and Colombia's president is now offering his own plane for deportation of illegal Colombian immigrants. On the economy and energy, President Trump unleashed American energy, declared a national energy emergency, and killed Joe Biden's radical electric vehicle mandate. Wall Street is booming, AI investments skyrocketed to $500 billion, and there's $20 billion flowing into U.S. data centers across our country. President Trump is restoring law and order. He labeled the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and he is deporting criminal illegal aliens, and he signed the Laken Riley Act into law. Draining the swamp, President Trump signed more than 45 executive orders. DEI has been purged from the government and our military, and lazy federal workers have been ordered back to the office. And when it comes to free speech and transparency, President Trump took 12 times more press questions than Joe Biden did in a week, reinstated 440 silenced journalists to the press room, and ended government censorship. Promises made, promises kept, and we're just getting started. We are 2 weeks.
Isn't that fantastic? Again, now I understand why my dad saw this. If you're a prophet and this is coming up on the horizon, you're definitely seeing this, because we have seen things unprecedented. I've never seen things like this in my entire life. And I know a lot of you, I mean, even I watch Glenn Beck every morning, and he's saying the same. Okay, this was really cool. Speaking of autism, this is one of the kids that are helping Elon Musk audit our government. Luke Farrader. And so this is what they're saying. The media this is Ian Miles. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but the media keeps harping on about how young the guys working at Doge are, but none of them has bothered to mention the fact that Elon Musk has, in fact, weaponized autism. I love it. These are some of the brightest, most politically neutral people you could ask for to look through government waste. They're untainted by years of cynicism and political corruption, and they are single-minded in their purpose. So this kid decoded a passage from the ancient Vesuvius scrolls that had been recovered, and were able to figure out a way to read these scrolls that are impossible to read. So this is one of the kids. So you might turn on CNN and they're going to bring up some silly username, that a teenager might put. I'm not going to repeat it, but that a teenager might use. I'm sure you've seen the clip on CNN about them freaking out over his username, a teenager, and complaining about how he. I don't know if it's this kid, but one of the kids, how he had started an LLC at 16 and named it something like Tesla Sexy LLC or something. And that's all they had. Well, it does, but that was their criticism of these genius kids, is that he's yeah. Well, because it's not on their side. It's the geniuses that are uncovering their fraud. So there's that part.
That kid actually started, I think it was 6 companies.
Yeah.
From the age of 16.
That's incredible. I mean, what 16-year-old do you? I mean, I certainly wasn't starting any LLCs when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Very interesting. I can see here. Trump signed the executive order establishing the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which will invest vast amounts of money into the national development projects like highways and new airports. Here we go. USAID. This is why we're here today. This is the main thing I'm wanting to look at. Funded bioweapons programs using tax dollars, which meant that taxpayers were funding their own deaths. This is Liz Churchill. She's been on the show before. Let's listen to a little. This is a long clip, so I'm not going to play all of it. But I do want you to just hear the beginning.
Function research,
That's not the question.
You know.
The question is, did you fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
Before my time, there was the PREDICT program with which you're familiar, which ended in China in 2019.
Yeah, this is a $200 million program, and the GAO has also identified that some of these grants went directly to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where there is a suspicion that the lab leak began the pandemic. Has USAID awarded funds to the Academy of Military Medical Sciences in China?
Not to my knowledge, but I'd have to get
I think the answer is once again yes. GAO has found that there have been subawards of NIH money as probably as well as USAID money that went to the Academy of not just medical research, military medical research in China. Now, part of the unknowns here is we can't get the records to look at this. So I've been asking for months and months for records. In September of last year, I wrote Ms. Powers, the USAID, a request asking for records from the PREDICT program. These are not classified. These are simply records of scientific research, and we want to read the grants to find out what they were doing and whether the research was dangerous or not. The response I got from your agency was USAID will not be providing any documents at this time. They're just unwilling to give documents on scientific grant proposal. We're paying for it. They're asking for $745 million more in money, and we get no response. So 2 weeks ago, the ranking member, Risch, myself, and 25 other Republican senators, unfortunately, so far, signed a letter once again. It's still no response. We're not asking for classified information. We're not asking for anything unusual. 20 million people died around the world. You're supposed to be an agency that cares about the death of people around the world. We, talk about starvation and famine, and 20 million people died from a virus, and you won't give us the basic information about what grants you're funding around the world and who you're funding.
So that's kind of a basic, he's saying it well there. This was back in April of 2023. So he's been on it. On them, and I've watched him over the years. Now here's another one. I remember I told you guys my dad used to like Marco Rubio, and he wasn't prophesying anything. It's just at home. We would be, have the TV on or whatever, and he would say, "Oh, I like him. I like that Marco Rubio. I like that guy." a number of times. And so let's listen. Sorry, I just needed to. I'm reading her comments at the same time. Here we go. Listen a little bit here.
Well, look, I mean, my frustration with USAID goes back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so. So the functions of USAID, there are a lot of functions of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy, but it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly during my confirmation hearing that every dollar we spend and every program we fund, that will be aligned with the national interest of the United States. And USAID.
Okay, yeah, I do see someone saying he couldn't be a president. Yeah, I don't think Marco Rubio will be president. I just know my dad liked him. Just saying that. So there he is. There's another person now saying, more recently, saying USAID, we're asking them for accountability and they will not provide the documentation asked for. So that is not acceptable. That makes them look guilty. Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to change the U.S. Constitution so he could be president. I'm not a fan of Arnold. Not a fan. Especially after what happened with COVID. Remember what he said? So, not a fan. Okay, so there's more on Canada. We don't need to. Okay, listen to this. Dinesh D'Souza. I love Dinesh. Obama, dead silent. Hillary, dead silent. Kamala, dead silent. But the lesser jackals, like Crockett and AOC. Did you guys hear AOC saying how Elon Musk is not a very smart billionaire? What an idiot she is. She's such an idiot. I'm sorry. It's not very Christian, I suppose, to insult her that way, but I can't find other words, so I'll just be honest. In the words of Cassius, a pleasing night to honest men. Here we go. Trump's taking care of the Panama Canal, as promised. This was interesting. ISIS terrorists seen inside tents supplied by USAID. USAID. You said. The Pentagon would airdrop weapons to Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria, later dismissing it as an error. How do you make that mistake? Unbelievable. If you guys didn't see, Charisma Magazine covered what we did on the plane crashes last week. They did an article, so you should go read that. Here we go. This is a good clip of Marco Rubio talking.
You're now the head of USAID. The head of Doge, Elon Musk, called USAID a criminal organization and added that it is time for it to die. Do you agree with that?
They have basically evolved into an agency that believes that they're not even a U.S. government agency, that they are a global charity, that they take the taxpayer money and they spend it as a global charity, irrespective of whether it is in the national interest or not in the national interest. One of the most common complaints you will get if you go to embassies around the world from State Department officials and ambassadors and the like is USAID is not only not cooperative, they undermine the work that we're doing in that country. They are supporting programs that upset the host government for whom we're trying to work with on a broader scale and so forth. So they're completely unresponsive. They just don't consider that they work for the U.S. They just think they're a global entity and that their master is the globe and not the United States. And that's not what the statute says, and that's not sustainable.
Can it be reformed or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is we don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. So the president made me the acting administrator. I've delegated that power to someone who's there full time, and we're going to go through the same process at USAID as we're going through now at the State Department. I think there are this is not about getting rid of foreign aid. There are things that we do through USAID that we should continue to do that makes sense. And we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department or is that better through something, a reformed USAID? That's the process we're working through. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding or that we have a lot of questions about. But they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
Do you think that you're now the head of...
Amazing. Amazing. What has happened? And because Trump is moving so fast, they cannot keep up with it. Like the government, as long as I've been alive, and let me tell you, I'm from South Africa, and South Africa, it's worse, moves at a snail's pace. And so the fact that Trump is going in and moving so fast is, I think, part of his tactic. He has to move quickly. The thing we have to remember is he has the 4 years, but in 2026 or the midterms, we have to keep the House and the Senate because otherwise they're going to be fighting us again. So Trump is moving fast, faster than we can keep up with. Every week we come on the show and we cannot keep up with everything that's happening. They were prepared. And this is why Trump had to have that first term. And he didn't know what he he kept most of the staff around. He didn't know. Now he knows. And God made sure. And we had to endure the 4 years under Biden and the 2020 election and everything that happened because it's the only way that these things could truly have been dealt with. And we may not have known it at the time, but God knew. God knew. God knew. 2007, through my dad, he said Trump will be a trumpet. He told us in advance. And the thing that we found about these prophecies is that it helps us to understand in a deeper way what's going on. And it helps us to recognize when there are connections, when things that are meant to be happening, no matter what people are saying around us. This is what was prophesied. This is what God wanted us to know in advance. And so we see that through my dad's prophecies, and we're seeing it so much through just what has come out this week in USAID. Here's another one. Roger Stone says, so this is how the Clintons paid for the child sex trafficking from Haiti. Hillary and Bill and the administrators of USAID need congressional subpoenas. They received millions of dollars specifically in relation to efforts in Haiti. Now, I've talked to you guys about this before with what happened in Haiti. I mean, is Haiti okay? Are they all better now with all the billions of dollars that were sent to help them? No. Nothing has changed in Haiti. It's the same. It's worse. Now you have cannibal gangs over there. So where'd the money go? Because it didn't go to help Haiti. Here we go. There's a nice little meme. From now on, money laundering will be called foreign aid. This is what we're seeing. Let's move on here a little bit because there's things I want to get to. So as you see me skipping things, it's just interesting. Follow me on X if you don't already, because you'll be able to track. And what I do is every time I'm reposting something on my X page, I'm considering it for the show. So through the week, you can follow me and kind of see, and feel free to comment and share things with me. I love when you guys do that. I'm just not active on other social media sites. It's too much for me. And I don't like Facebook and I don't like Instagram. So I haven't even been on those sites in years. I have accounts there, but I don't use them. Lou has been helping me with my Facebook account. I actually recently found a friend that I went to school with when I was a little girl, and she contacted me on Facebook, but I missed her message. And Lou called me the other day. He said, there's a girl who says she went to grade school with you. And I remembered her immediately because a couple of years ago, I'd been looking for her. Nicola. Hello, Nicola, if you're watching. I hope you are. Email me. He sent her my email because I don't use Facebook. But those are the things you miss out on Facebook. And then these are the things I've missed. Okay. Now I'm getting ready to go over to some video clips, but I'm just getting there. Okay. I liked this post. This is your gentle reminder that one time in the Bible, Elijah was like, God, I'm so mad, I want to die. So God said, here's some food. Why don't you have a nap? And so Elijah slept, ate, and decided things weren't so bad. Never underestimate the spiritual power of a nap and a snack. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Trump has called out the massive spike in autism rates. 20 years ago, autism in children was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 34. That's a problem. That's a problem. And I saw that myself, not only with my own son, but all the people around me who were having their children at the same time I was, like my cousins and friends. So many of our children ended up having autism. And so now we're getting a little better picture of that. The FBI turned over the names of 5,000 employees who worked on January 6 cases to the DOJ. The FBI employs approximately 38,000 people, so nearly 15% of the entire FBI were dedicated to hunting down Trump supporters. Not okay. The Pfizer and Moderna stocks are in free fall, of course. Wonderful. Oh, this is what I wanted you to see. Okay, let's have a look at this one.
There is probably no entity in the government that is more of an entrenched power center of unelected bureaucrats with less accountability, less oversight than USAID. They funnel money to their cronies all over the world through a swampy network of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and cutouts, including potentially some very troubling elements of focusing on things like regime change and destabilizing foreign countries. But this is not about America's interests. Donald Trump is courageously restoring democracy. Article 2 of the executive branch vests all power by the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution vests all power of the executive branch in a president. It's known as the vesting clause. It says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular, not in the bureaucracy, not in unelected, lifetime tenured career civil servants. Americans voted for one man, Donald J. Trump. They didn't vote for a single bureaucrat at USAID. They voted for Donald Trump to make government accountable to the taxpayer, to make government accountable for them. If the Democrats are saying, as they are, that President Trump cannot implement his agenda at USAID, that Donald Trump cannot fire recalcitrant bureaucrats, what they are saying, what Democrats are saying, is they oppose democracy itself. They oppose the idea that the American people can elect a man, in this case, our President Donald Trump, to reform the government according to the will of the people. This is a battle between the will of the people through their President Donald Trump and the will of an unelected federal bureaucracy. So we and President Trump are on the side of democracy.
Yes, we are. I know, well said. Yes. And so true. So here's another thing. Trump says he left instructions to totally obliterate Iran if they assassinate him. Okay, I'm sure you guys have heard this, a lot of you.
But why say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why, lack of intelligence, perhaps. But he never said it. If that happens to a leader, or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran. So I'm signing this, and it's a very powerful document, but hopefully we're not going to have to.
Great. So that makes me think of when my dad was prophesying in April of 2015, and he was praying for an offering, and he saw a wall being built that would not be finished because of a takeover. And then he actually points to Iran and says, Iran, you have wicked plans. I've already spoken about you. And so I just thought of that. Now I wish I had the clip. Okay, so here's another thing that happened. President Trump has signed an executive order withdrawing the United States from the UN Human Rights Council due to deep anti-American bias. Okay, so here's another one where I actually have that prophecy. I think I can I add the page here, Lou? I'm wanting to go UN Russia. Yeah, here we go. This, I'm gonna let you do it, Lou. I'm gonna let Lou do this. Which one do you want to do? This one. The UN prophecy. Here we go. I'm gonna start showing you the stuff in prophecy now. The refugee, yeah. And I should have shared it to start at a certain. No, I didn't. I actually had created the link. Okay, we got 9 minutes in. I can do it. I can do it from here. Okay, we're gonna go 9 minutes into this video because he prophesies about a lot of stuff. Let's see. The sound is a little low on this. You guys, let me know if you can hear. I'm gonna fast forward. It's long, but he really. If you want to see this whole prophecy or anything I show you today, we're gonna put the links in the description. Okay, prophesying the family, and this is the first YouTube video I ever put up of my dad. It says 7 years ago, but it's actually longer than that. It was 2017. Are we here? There we go. 9 minutes.
Over a 3-year period, how I will change things, and they will say, there is only one God, there is only one saint, there is only one God, and he is the Lord Jesus Christ. For this shall be a miraculous invasion of millions of people that shall be taken care of. I will move to South America. I will move in Italy.
South America, Italy.
When they repent for the disgusting
France repenting for the disgusting thing they did. Remember the Olympics?
nations, I will pinpoint Russia, and I will pinpoint France, and I will pull their pants down and show
Closing
them
Russia.
the nakedness to the world, for they have played with this nation. They have played with this nation, and they have said, we will bring to shame this nation. But God said, now I will shake the United Nations.
Shake the United
And God
Nations.
says, I will abolish it.
And
I will
abolish it.
abolish it. For it has done nothing but steal and bring corruption into this nation. They have taken,
They've housed
the
Judas.
United Nations has housed Judas. The United Nations has housed Judas, and now I have taken Judas out.
Okay, this is the problem with this. Some of these videos that are coming through, the volume's not loud enough. I was worried about that, that's why I keep quoting him as he's going. Well, let's stop that one because that's all I wanted you to see. But I want you to see it. So this was in 2005, and he was in, I think he was here in Nashville, and he was shouting about the UN, the United Nations, and how God says they have housed Judas, and he will abolish it. He will abolish it. So interesting that. Okay, and I'm going to now move over to, let me think. Where do I want to go next? I think I want to go back to X. If you want to, I could probably have done that. I could have done that. I have noticed that the volume is a little low on the videos that are coming through with X. I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to fix that. I did notice it on last week's video as well. Does it? Okay. Yeah, that one, the volume is low on that one already, so I was worried about that. Okay, so sorry if you couldn't hear it, but again, we will put the links to these videos. Everything I share with you today, the link will be in the description, and you can go watch the whole thing, especially if you couldn't hear that one. And let me know too if you can't hear things, because it is a little low, some of the videos. Let me see, where are we? I need to go back. No, I don't. Here we go. So it's okay if we move it a little bit in this direction now, I think. But we'll scroll down. This was so good. Oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm here. Now, you remember my dad prophesied a lot about the spirit of Pythos. And he had a vision of 2 snakes the night before he had a stroke. He was praying in his prayer garden, and he saw 2 snakes. The snake, the serpent, Pythos, those things keep coming up in his prophecies. And now we hear, listen to what this guy says.
Has every past president for the last 20 years known about this corruption with USAID and just chose not to do anything about it?
Well, most of them are on the take. Joe Biden was the head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, which directly oversees USAID. USAID was funding Burisma. USAID gave money to Burisma and had a formal partnership agreement with Burisma. Barack Obama's mother worked for USAID. The Bush family runs right through it. Bush's, Vice President Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney worked for USAID.
Liz Cheney,
they're
same
all
people
in on it, and this is the reason that the Trump revolution was so revolutionary. Is because it defeated both sides of the USAID snake, and now we're going to see just exactly how the snake bites back.
defeated both sides of the USAID snake. I thought that was so interesting. It was worded that way because I'm hearing the prophecies in my head when I'm seeing these things. God's reminding me of this one and this one and this one, and it's been amazing. Let's keep scrolling though, because I do have a lot and I don't want to miss anything. Okay, this is the guy that's trying to block what Trump's doing. This judge has paused. Make sure I get the story right. Oh, this is so long. So the Supreme Court is probably going to have to intervene because what this judge has done is a gross violation. He's just trying to stop Elon Musk and Trump from auditing and laying off people and that kind of thing. Well, because he's on the payroll and probably is being threatened by people who've given him money that he needed to do something. That people are panicking. We are seeing complete panic. And whoever you see screaming and yelling about the tax money being audited or looked into, why would they do it unless they're corrupt? So it's become very, very easy for us to tell who probably needs to be investigated for stealing our money. Because that's the bottom line. They have been stealing our tax dollars. I have paid taxes in this country my entire life. As long as since I was 16. And every one of you watching has too. And where did that money go? Into these people's pockets. And so anybody screaming and shouting, because if you weren't worried about fraud and if you weren't worried about it, you'd say, sure, let them audit. It's fine. Same thing with the 2020 election. Why didn't they just say, oh, no, there's no cheating? And when everybody showed up on January 6th to tell Pence to investigate before certifying the election, that's why they were there. They weren't there to take over the Capitol. People did things. But the reason the people came was because they wanted Mike Pence to investigate the election before certifying it, and he refused. Why did he refuse? Because he's involved and he knows they cheat to get their positions. Do you think anybody's voting for Elizabeth Warren and Mitch McConnell? No. You're like, how are these people getting in? Because they're cheating. And that's why they didn't want that coming out in 2020. It's so obvious. It's like, who cares about proof? Your behavior is the proof. Because if there was nothing wrong with the 2020 election, just as if there's nothing wrong with what they've been doing financially with our taxes, they would say, fine, audit it. Have a look. We don't have a problem. There's nothing to hide. That's what I would do. If I had nothing to hide, I would say, go ahead and look. If it makes you feel better, if it would make the American feel better about the election, why don't we have a look before we certify it? Won't hurt anybody, or will it? It'll hurt the people cheating to get the positions of power so that they can fill their pockets with our tax money that they're getting through USAID. This is what my dad was seeing. He may not have seen the word USAID, but he saw corruption. I saw Trump coming in, being a trumpet. He saw so much. And you guys know that. And I'm going to show you some more stuff in a minute. Okay, but I do want to, I'm wondering if I should, let me just scroll here quickly and make sure there's nothing else on here I want to hit before I go over to Dan Bongino, because we don't have much time left. I didn't want to keep you guys too long today because I know it's the Super Bowl. Trump, we're catching them left and right. We're catching them to a point where they don't know what the heck is going on. They can't believe they're getting caught. Yep. Yes. They can't hear you, so make it quick. You can talk to me later. Okay, Kristi Noem, you guys. Let me say this. I can't talk about it today because we're going to cover this on Saturday on the House of Destiny Network with our Saturday broadcast analysis. Kristi and I are going to be covering the Esther prophecy. Yes, I know I've been wrong, but this is not coming from me. This is coming from my mother. My mother called me and she said, Donna, I think Kristi Noem is the woman that your dad prophesied the Esther. And I said, Mom, I don't want to say anything because I keep being wrong about this, and I don't want to get people excited about a person again and then I'm be wrong. So she said, well, then I'll do it. So I said, okay, we'll cover it. We'll have a look. We'll keep it as a question mark. But she does have she's beautiful. She's a beautiful lady. And she is there at the border. And so stay tuned for that. I won't cover it today. We're going to go over the prophecy again. Kristi and I are going to, on analysis, will be up on Saturday, so don't miss that. Everybody, Tina Peters, we're praying for Tina Peters. I know people who know her. She's a wonderful person, and she is in prison. She needs to be let out. This is Death to Dead. We've done enough on this for now. Here's more on USAID. The Trump prosecutors, the people prosecuting him all last year, remember, reveals they were backed by $27 million in USAID funding. So you wonder why these people are making fools of themselves, because they're getting paid a lot of money. I mean, I saw somebody in here who was saying, I can't afford a car. And you know what? That's most of us are in that situation where we can't afford regular things. And you're looking at $27 million so that they could play politics, cover their butts. And we're sitting here and we can't, we don't have enough money to make it from paycheck to paycheck, and we can't save money, and we can't do anything. And it's got nothing to do with love of money kind of thing. It's just basic human survival. We're struggling, and we shouldn't be struggling. This country should not. The citizens of this country should not be struggling, not a little bit. This is the most prosperous, most amazing country in the history of mankind. And the fact that every one of you watching me right now, you're probably having some kind of a financial difficulty, most of you. You are probably looking at this the way I am, because, it's not like I'm rich. It's not like I don't struggle. And I'm sitting here wow, $27 million? You know how much money that is? It's so much money. Reparations for taxpayers. That's right, Michelle. Oops. Getting mad. So, there was the RFK clip I wanted to play. Maybe we won't get to Bongino today, because this is important, and I want to play the inoculation prophecy. Actually, why don't we do that first? Lou, can you play the inoculations prophecy? Okay, my dad prophesied this in 2001, I think, and it was after 9/11. This prophecy was not in our prophecy database. Excuse me. I found it when I did the first Reawaken America tour. I went to the first event. It was in Arizona, Maricopa County, by the way. And I was on the plane, and I put my headphones in my ears, and I was just listening to my dad. And I had loaded into my iTunes a bunch of his old albums that were actually on DVD. So I'm sorry, CD. So I had to load the CDs manually into my iTunes because they weren't for sale on iTunes. It's still not. And I was just playing it, and it was something he released right after 9/11 called America on Our Knees, and it was just a live album. And in the album, in the CD, he's, there's the music, but then there's also prophecy within it. And I hadn't listened to it in years, and I was on the plane, and I was like, I'm gonna listen. And I started falling asleep, and because it was music, so it was my dad music, so I was just worship, so I was just falling asleep to it in the plane, and I was dozing off, and I heard inoculations, and I had been searching the prophecy database for the word vaccine. I didn't think to use the word inoculation. This is how clever God is, because my dad couldn't have known this, but God knew that the word vaccine would get picked up by the whatever detection they're using in the social media, which would have you censored, have your videos removed, all that. But the word inoculations wasn't really used that much, so we were able to get away with sharing it a little bit better. So, Lou, will you play that prophecy, and then we'll come back and listen to RFK.
What about your children? What about them, says the Lord? That's what the enemy wants, to cripple your economy and to cripple your children. But the Spirit of God says they will breathe in the air that is pure, for I will take the air of this nation and I will purify it, says the Spirit of the Lord. For they want an inoculation against that which is being sent into this country, but it is not being sent in from outside, says the Lord. It is already inside this nation. Your enemies are within, says the Lord, and I will wipe them out one at a time. But before I do, I shall go over to the land where you are having war, and I will strike down the enemy quicker than you imagine, says the Lord. I will cause a spirit of betrayal to arise, and the people will be afraid. Great fear shall come upon them. Great fear shall come upon them, says the Lord. Not because of the strength of America, and not because of the strength of the religious, because the Lord said, I determined this day that I will do what I'm going to do, and I shall do it, says the Lord, for the sake of your children and your children's children. Therefore rejoice, for the battle has begun, but it shall end swiftly with a great shout of victory, says the Lord.
So you notice he sees the enemy being within. Now, a couple years ago, I actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, Lou put it up on there so they can find my YouTube channel. Follow me on there, subscribe. And in my shorts, you'll find a video where, I forget the name of Dr. Martin, was at the COVID summit, I think it was 2022. And he brought up the origin of SARS-1, and that it came from University of North Carolina. And so this was already, now this is my dad in 2001, and he said they created it in a lab, SARS-1, in 2002. So the year before they actually created it in a lab in a university in North Carolina, my dad prophesied it. So that's how amazing God is, because my dad didn't know any of those things. Not ever in his life did he know them. He died never knowing. But he prophesied in 2001, and the very next year, exactly what he was warning about. We just watched him prophesy. Your enemy is within. And this is something that we have seen. And it was just amazing how I found that prophecy too. But let's go back to the X page. I don't know if you can do it or if there we go. Okay, so let's listen a little bit here to RFK Jr., who, by the way, I'm just going to say it again. I knew RFK Jr. was going to be significant when he was running for president against Trump, and God showed me. That's something he showed me. And it really is incredible how God is using him. And it's a connection to his dad and his uncle and the assassination and all of that, and God making things right. But listen to this.
Anthony Fauci shifted a lot of his operations offshore. And those operations ended up, most of them in the Wuhan lab, which is a military lab, and that the Chinese run, the People's Liberation Army. And then a lot of them went to the Ukraine. So a lot of that science now, and it's funded, Fauci was funding lots of it. But then the other government agencies began to get confidence in, their ability to get away with it. And most of it is being funded by the Department of Defense. Most of all, the biggest single funder is USAID, which is, a CIA cutout.
Do you think the lab leak was a leak, or was it intentional?
The best science shows that, indicates that the people who were working on a particular coronavirus technology that was taught by Ralph Baric, it was developed by the U.S. government with NIH money. It was then taught to a group of scientists, Xi Zhengli, who's famous, the Bat Lady, and then her assistant, Ben Hu, and a couple of other scientists at the Wuhan lab. Baric taught them two things. He taught them, one, how to engineer the spike with a furin cleave that could attach to the ACE2 receptors of the human lungs and make people sick and spread, through the air. He taught them another trick that has nothing to do with public health, conceivably, which is a technique called seamless ligation, which is a technique for disguising the evidence of human tampering. So you can make the microbe, and then you can erase the evidence that human beings actually made that microbe. And Ben Hu was leading that research. Ben Hu then got sick with two other of his fellow researchers, and they ended up in the hospital with COVID symptoms in November of 2019. So it appears that Ben Hu, the subway line that goes past the Wuhan lab and goes straight to the airport, all the original cases were along that subway line. And so the intelligence agencies that are actually being honest about that, and most of them are not, believe that Ben Hu and two other researchers got sick. That the most likely scenario is that Ben Hu and two other researchers who were working on infectious coronavirus bioweapons got sick and they didn't know it. And so they were riding that subway line every day and infecting people before they actually got symptoms.
Okay, so here's what the reason I'm showing this to you. So we know that that SARS and those kind of things were created artificially. I've heard from Dr. Martin. I wish I had pulled that clip to show you. It's really short, but he says that the SARS was created in a university in North Carolina. So then we know from what RFK Jr. just said is that Fauci moved the gain of function research out of the country into places like Ukraine and China at the Wuhan lab. And then you heard him explaining how this, what is his name, Ben Hu, I think he's what he said the guy's name is, was showing people how to hide within the vaccine. I mean, within the disease, hide it. So hiding things. And then it probably, we know now that it started, someone got infected in China at the Wuhan lab and spread it around, like he said, before they knew. So we have here my dad back in 2001 talking about there's going to be, in the air and the children in the air breathing, and there's going to be this sickness and through inoculations and saying, and he's saying they're not coming from the outside, it's coming from inside. Your enemy is within America. And not only with Americans who are betraying their own, but other countries who have wormed their way in and done this, because there's no other way to conquer America than how they've been trying to do it. And so you can see the foreign influence and the people who will take money and betray their own, and how out of control the whole thing has gotten. So of course God needed to take care of it, and he did. He knew it was coming, number one, and we know that because if you just look at my dad, he started prophesying 2007. He says Trump's going to be a trumpet. He's going to build the walls of protection around this nation. The economy will grow rapidly. He will be a praying president, but he won't be a praying president when he starts. There's no way someone could guess correctly. Like, you could maybe, if you're sitting in the moment like we are right now, look at something and say, okay, it's 50-50, and then I can guess that it might go this way. That is obviously not what was going on with my dad. He was truly prophesying, because 2007, everybody was looking at Obama. Nobody was even thinking. So you can tell. And my dad didn't, it's not my dad was like smarter than other people. He wasn't. But he had this gift of prophecy. And through that, God has shown us, and God is getting all the credit here. God has shown us not only that he knew this was coming, but that he had a solution. And that what would be required of us is to, number one, have faith. Number two, wake up. And number three, don't be afraid. These are very key things that were a part and within of those prophecies of instruction to us from God. Not from my dad, through my dad. And so we see, you can go back and look at these prophecies, and no matter how long ago they were, when you look at it, it was a projection of UN, God says, I will abolish it. Inoculations, that kind of thing, God's saying, your enemy is within, America. Your enemy is within. It's come from inside America. We're living it right now. So these things are very important. Now, something else I wanted to talk to you guys about today was the impeachment and what has come out through because of the USAID and what's been uncovered there, where we can look at what Biden, for instance, was doing. And it was such, maybe we can just, Lou, maybe we can just put the link in the description so everybody can watch that episode of Dan Bongino if they want to see. Because at around, let me see, I wrote it down. Where did I write it down? Around, give me 1 second. I'm going to go through my notebook here. Okay, at about 6 minutes and 45 seconds into this episode of Dan Bongino, he starts playing clips. I wonder if I should just, let me just make sure here. What have I got going on here? Yeah, why don't we just pull it up? Let's just pull it up quickly. Let's finish off with that. Lou, pull up Dan Bongino. Or I can. Here, let me do it. You just oversight. Replace. Okay. And which one is it? Which one is it? Okay, that's chat. This one probably. Yeah. There. Okay. And do you have it at the minutes? Yes. Okay. Okay. It is. Wonderful. Thank you, Lou. Okay, so I'm watching Dan Bongino. I wasn't watching. I was in my car listening to him. And I'm listening and I'm going, oh my gosh. My dad prophesied about corruption being exposed. He prophesied about Ukraine. He prophesied about President Trump. And all of this being dealt with. Okay, that's just some of it. Giuliani, that's the other one. Lou, can you play the Giuliani prophecy before I start this without changing the screen share? Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties here because we're going to run out of time and I don't want to miss anything. Can you? Okay, go ahead and play it. Listen to this about Giuliani and then we're going to watch.
During that time, great prophets shall arise from the earth, and they shall stand and reveal. These are not prophets that are necessarily in the religious organizations, but prophets like I chose Netanyahu, Rudy Giuliani. Oh, you may mock him, but I made him a watchman in this country. The hatred for this nation has increased.
Okay, there we go. Now let's go back to Dan. Okay, remember that, what he said about Giuliani. Let's see. Now we're going to start here. This is a little bit long, this clip that I had, so I might fast forward a little bit. Just bear with me.
They turned on Elon Musk because his Doge programmers and his Doge geniuses are now inside the government for the first time in like forever, looking at where your taxpayer dollars are being spent. And now we find out that the collusion hoax, the Spygate thing, the impeachment hoax, and all of this may have been financed by some of the same payment systems Elon's looking into. Do you see why they're freaking out? Many of you picked up the book yesterday. I showed you my book, Follow the Money on this. Like I said, get it from the library, whatever. I don't really care. I have been covering this money trail for years. They don't want Elon covering it because he's got the world's biggest megaphone on Twitter. And you are going to find out that all of the anti-Trump scandals, ladies and gentlemen, are being run by the same people. The same people. I want to play this again. I hate to do it to you 2 days in a row, but folks, yesterday's show went crazy, and I cannot let you go into the weekend without wrapping this baby up in a nice little gift wrap and putting it under your political Christmas tree, okay? Here was the segment that filled in a big piece of the puzzle to my Follow the Money investigation. The money that's been used to attack you and Donald Trump forever. Where the entire thing started. And it turns out Michael Schellenberger may have an answer, that USAID and your taxpayer dollars and payments may have been used to fund a media report that was actually propaganda used to get Donald Trump impeached as he started looking into Ukraine. Check this out.
You have this new piece on Substack that the USAID and the CIA helped orchestrate Trump's impeachment.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, it's a crazy story. I mean, you might forget that, the House of Representatives impeached President Trump in December of 2019. Many people may not remember that it was a CIA analyst who was left over from the Obama White House who wrote the memo that led to the impeachment. It was all based on hearsay. The person had not actually been in the room with Trump. Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a name that's not very memorable, OCCRP, but it was basically created as an extension of the State Department and then of USAID. And as you know, Jesse, this is very serious to be involved in an effort to do regime change at home, as we've been discovering as the files have come out with what Elon Musk has been doing. We know that USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing part, regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment.
Folks, I had a...
Okay, so I'm just going to pause it there for a second. Do you remember February 22nd of 2014? We will put the link in the description. Lou, the link I emailed you, I want you to put that in the description. On February 22nd of 2014, not only did my dad prophesy, they will shout, impeach, impeach. He said it twice. But he also prophesied about Ukraine. And it was on that day that he said, out of the ashes will come beauty, and out of the sadness will come joy. In February 22nd of 2014, what was that date? February 22nd. What was the date when Russia invaded Ukraine, or the war with Ukraine started with Russia? I think it was February 22nd. So there's a significance here in there's a significance in the date, but also the fact that my dad was seeing they'll shout impeach, impeach, but nay, they'll shout impeach, impeach. So they impeached him in the House, but not the Senate. But also, he was seeing Ukraine. And so you see now, just that Jesse Waters clip that Dan Bongino played, you see the connection right there. Now, these people know nothing about Kim Clement. They know nothing about... My dad is no longer alive, but God exists, and he let us know. And now, this is what I was talking about earlier, how it starts to come together. Okay, I'm going to keep going here.
I'll play this again because this is such an insane story that explains everything that's gone on over basically the last 10 years, roughly. Donald Trump started entering around and sniffing around the presidential race in around 2015. And that's, by the way, my sources tell me that's roughly when the spying starts as well on Trump and a lot of the Republican candidates for president. What my source calls many of the Pied Piper candidates. I gave you the list a long time ago of the people that my source alleges were spied on. It wasn't just Donald Trump. But this is now 10 years explained in one simple segment on the Jesse Waters Show. They are pissed off about Elon and USAID because they cannot have a paper trail of the regime change stuff they've been doing at home to destroy Donald Trump. And you paid for it. Some of you may have forgotten this. I played this on yesterday's radio show, but it's pivotal to put it together on a podcast.
So he's going to play, let me pause this because this is long. He's going to play some clips of phone calls that Biden, of Biden talking to the guy in Ukraine. So let's just fast forward a little bit to get there because I don't want to, we're running out of time. Just want to make sure you guys see this because you'll see why I played you the Giuliani clip.
I understand the governor of the bank is tentative about setting a date certain for the transition to take place. And I'm being told secondhand that, I don't know if this is her position for sure, that she is unsure of a date until she gets an agreement from you. Here's what I've told them. I've told them to get back to her and set a date, and I would talk to you about the date. Because this is getting very, very close. What I don't want to have happen, I don't want Trump to get in a position where he thinks he's about to buy onto a policy where the financial system is going to collapse and he's going to be looked to pour more money into Ukraine. That's how he'll think about it before he gets sophisticated enough to know the detail.
Okay, so here is Biden. This is November of 2016. That was like a week or so before my dad died. He's on the phone here, and he's talking about Trump and Ukraine. And Trump's going to ask questions. We got to do something. Basically, that's what he's saying. And what happened? That is why the impeachment thing happened. So my dad prophesies impeach, prophesies about Ukraine. Now, we didn't know this at the time, but here's what was going on. Here's Biden on the phone worrying about that. And what do? Impeach Trump over the perfect phone call, remember? I mean, it's so obvious, you guys. This stuff is so obvious. Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit more. I want you to hear what he says about Giuliani here. So let me just see. Does he say it here?
Going to start looking into all the people who are making money in Ukraine, Democrats and Republicans, by the way, him being one of them. And he's terrified Trump is going to be the guy to shut this gravy train down and expose what's going on. Check this out.
Okay, so here's another.
That there is a new government and a new prosecutor general. I am prepared to do a public signing
Where he talks about the $1 billion.
Rudolph Giuliani, prosecutor general, looking into this whole thing. Trump's looking into. Go away. That hat tip New York Post on that one. And again, that's all the same people, folks. The Democrats have had an unusual interest in one Rudolph Giuliani for the last, 8 years? Suing him, trying to prosecute him, destroying his reputation. You know Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York. Why? That's why. Because if you were watching and not listening to the podcast, if you're watching on Rumble, you'll see in that post clip that those tapes, some of them were released through someone, through Giuliani. So, of course, instead of actually investigating those tapes, which is the biggest freaking scandal of our time, they investigate who? Rudy Giuliani.
Okay. Lou, you can take that down, and I want you to play the Giuliani prophecy again.
And during that time, great prophets shall arise from the earth, and they shall stand and reveal. These are not prophets that are necessarily in the religious organizations, but prophets like I chose Netanyahu, Rudy Giuliani. Oh, you may mock him, but I made him a watchman in this country. The hatred for this nation has increased.
So there you have it. February 22nd, 2014. Lou will put the link in the description. He will put the link to Dan Bongino's show here, so you can go watch it in its full. You can listen to all those phone calls and go through. Excellent show he did Friday. I'm a huge fan of Bongino, and he's really been covering this the whole time. But we're beginning to see how these things are connected. Ukraine, impeachment, Rudy Giuliani. I mean, God told us everything. He told us everything. He didn't tell us every little detail, but he told us the things that are important. And as I sit here today, I am looking at this and I am getting a picture of what he prophesied. You know, for years, my dad used to say that Code Breakers was like putting together the pieces of the puzzle. And one day, when those pieces were put together, or he referred to as a tapestry, it would be like a tapestry woven together. And we would see the whole picture. And we are getting closer and closer to that. And so aside from all the Trump prophecies and all of that, we have these other prophecies about Ukraine, about Russia, about corruption, about the intelligence agencies, about a new Snowden arising, about Rudy Giuliani. I mean, amazing. I'm amazed at God. I'm amazed at my dad and what God did through him, but I am even more and mostly amazed by God in the way he did this for us. And so I am so grateful. We are out of time. I love you guys. Thank you for sitting through all of this with me on Super Bowl Sunday. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. Hope you had a wonderful time today at church and here with me afterwards. And now we're going to enjoy the Super Bowl. It's a busy Sunday. So I thank you so much for joining me and also for supporting this broadcast and our network. You know, we lost my dad in 2016 and we did not know what to do and if we should keep the ministry going. And I'm so glad that we did. I'm so glad that we did. I'm seeing New World Sun in the chat on Rumble. You know, there was a band called New World Sun, and my dad had them go on our broadcast at the House of Destiny when he was still alive. I think it was 2014. It was the most beautiful broadcast. You know what? Why don't we put that up, Lou, for Prophetic Rewind today? I think we're going to do that today. It's a fun day. So Prophetic Rewind tomorrow, you guys are going to see New World Sun. I'm so glad. I don't know if that's actually the real New World Sun or maybe it's someone who's a fan, but it was so incredible what they did, so anointed. And so we'll put that on Prophetic Rewind. We'll be up tomorrow, actually probably midnight tonight, but it'll be up tomorrow on the House of Destiny Network. And again, I thank you so much for your support. Everybody, thank you for keeping this show going. If you have given an offering today, if you give an offering an amount of anything, we're going to send this to you. It's a 30-day devotional, all written by my dad. But do use the QR code or go to the website and indicate with your offering that you want it, and we will send this to you. It's so amazing. We've also got this, $25 or more. If you give an offering and decide to support us, and it's $25 or more, we're going to send you this. But make sure you use the QR code. If you don't like QR codes, you can go to the website. And don't miss Prophetic Rewind. Don't miss everything we're doing. We've got so much going on. Join our partnership program. I am the one who put this together because I needed help. I need help gathering footage of my dad, prophecies that are not in the database. We have old videotapes and cassette tapes and all kinds of stuff that we have not digitized. And because it costs so much, I can't pay for it myself. So I need help. And so I thought, you know, what better way than we start a partnership program? Because we had the old ones. They were outdated. They were my dad's old stuff. And so we've kept the spirit of what God was doing and everything about my dad, but we've put it into what we've called the Prophecy Vault. And so when you join us and support us for $7 or more a month, it's not a lot of money. You pay more for Netflix, which is filth. You could pay just $7 and have access to the upgraded prophecy database. So the prophecy database remains on the website for free. I know everybody cannot afford to do that. To do this. And so we have not taken away anything, but we have enriched the prophecy database so that you can watch the prophecy, what was prophesied on a video, as well as read the transcript all in the same place, or click a link and go to the original. And you can also do a full year, Lou is telling me in the comments here. So if you want to do a full year, you can do a year. Otherwise, you can do it monthly. I'm a person who does monthly things, but however you want to do it. If you feel led to join us on this journey, I encourage you to do that. I thank you so much for supporting us, for joining me every week here. I love you guys. This has been such a journey, and we're right in the middle of it. It's not even over. And so I will see you all next week. Look for Prophetic Rewind tomorrow. We're going to watch New World Sun and just have a wonderful worship time. And I love you all. See you next week.